Namaste, wassalamu alaikum, Christian greetings. Welcome to Practical Talk. I am your host, Pastor Wendell Jeffrey. Thanks for joining me. I have some folks in the studio with me tonight. I will introduce them later on. I'm creating, as we begin, a segment called Talking Practically. Talking Practically. And tonight I want to say that except the voters in Guyana give a third party an opportunity to represent them in Parliament, there will never be true constitutional reform in Guyana. Those who framed and constructed the Guyana's constitution did so with the deliberate intention of making sure that whoever is in government stays in government for life. And until we have an objective third party, none of the leading parties will address true constitutional reform. And that is why prior to 1992, when the PPP was in opposition, all the opposition parties, including the WPA, fought to change the Guyana constitution. But when the PPP got in 1992, they kept the constitution in place because they found out that the constitution benefited them. And that's why when the PPP was aggravating the Guyanese public and the AFC decided that they will move a no confidence motion against the PPP in 2013, the PPP sought in the constitution and found a clause that allowed them, the president at the time, Mr. President Ramatar, to prorogue the parliament. It was hidden in the Guyana constitution. And so, acting in the interest of the party and in the interest of maintaining the governance, Mr. Ramatar prorogued the parliament. Fast forward now to 2017. We have a situation where the country is looking for an election commission chairperson. And found in the Constitution is the clause that says that the president could reject 2 sets of names with 6 on the list. And if he rejects the 2 lists, then he can unilaterally choose a commissioner for the elections, a chairman for the Elections Commission. And so everybody's crying foul that it would be unilateral and it would be unpatriotic. But it is in the Constitution. And if the president does that, even though some might say it is unfair and it doesn't lend for social cohesion and it doesn't lend for magnanimous politicking, it is in the Constitution. And until the Constitution is addressed, and until there is substantial reformation, and until you have a third party that will make sure that there are sufficient votes for that, we will never have true constitutional reform in Guyana. And that's Talking Practically. In the studio with me tonight is Mr. Ian Halls. Welcome, Mr. Halls, all the way from Linden, the Region 3 coordinator for the Region 10 coordinator for the URP, and Dr. Bandhu, Vishnu, the head of the leader of the URP party. Good night and welcome, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night. Nice.
Dr. Vishnu, when we were here the last time, we began to talk a little about your expertise. Mm-hmm. We know that you are a businessman, an extraordinary businessman. But just because we want to keep introducing you to the Guyanese public as they have to make a decision, I want us to follow up a little on that. Now, I understand that in addition to the businesses, the entrepreneurial things that you would have started, you also are very renowned for some other work that you have done in North America, the United States particularly. Share a little with the viewers.
When I returned back to the States, I also, which I didn't mention the last time, I had the first West Indian nightclub in New York.
Wow.
Called Caribbean Connection.
Okay.
After that, I also was involved in building. I become a builder. I built many homes, over 60 buildings in Brooklyn area.
60?
Yes, over 60 buildings.
Wow.
Which in New York Times in 2004 carry a whole page on me because it was a slum area. We built it up. When I started there, I used to purchase land for $30,000 per lot.
Okay.
Within 2 years, because of my building start go up, the price of the area increased to nearly $200,000 per lot. Homes were there at $300,000 per lot, and then it increased over $760,000 per home.
Wow.
You know, so because of the building, people that area where I start working, people are so much afraid even to walk the street. My wife and I were living in a hi-fi area called Astoria in Queens. And when I started to build in that area, I told my wife, you know what, we have to move in this area and live. So I took my wife to show her the area.
In Brooklyn?
Yes, in Brooklyn. And she turned to me and said, Vishnu, why you bring me here for people to kill me? You know? I said, no, nobody will kill you, don't worry.
And now that area is a high-rise?
High-end area.
Neighborhood?
Yes, very high-end neighborhood. In fact, many people say that Pitkin Avenue should be named after me.
Wow.
You know,
tremendous.
I still have about 20 buildings in my name.
Okay.
In the Brooklyn area.
Wow.
Right, which I built, a brand new brick building I put up.
So those are some of the expertise that you are will be bringing to the table here in Guyana.
Definitely.
As you seek to develop and change the landscape
Yes.
of Guyana and to give back.
Yeah.
Mr. Halls, how are you doing? So how is Linden?
Well, things not so good in Linden.
Tell me a little about the political climate in Linden since we have the new administration.
Well, people had high hopes and expectations. But at present, no. All those expectations have gone to zero. And people are complaining about the taxes, lack of employment, and those type of things. So, and some are saying that they will not vote again because what they had expected, they are not seeing.
But some might argue, Mr. Halls, that the government does, even after 2 years, they didn't have enough time to really do what the folks in Linden are expecting them to do. How would you answer a question like that?
I believe that the government could have done more. They promised the people of Linden jobs. And at present, over 80% of the young people are unemployed. And the only type of job that was available by this government to a lot of young people, about 200 to 300 young people, was this SIP program. And in the past, these same leaders used to condemn the former government, saying that the former government was making these people gutter rats. And today, the SIP program, these people, well, what I must call them, I won't call them gutter rats because I feel that the young people need employment before they go and steal and so on and so on.
But Mr. Halls, the president was clear. While he ran on jobs, we know he ran on jobs, some of the signs are still up that say, vote for change, vote for jobs and so on. The president is clear. The president said, President Granger, that it is not the responsibility of the government to find jobs for the people. Even as much as the president said that, do you still think that the president, was he disingenuous when they ran with jobs as a motif for the campaign? Do you think that he has moved the bar?
Well, I understand that, and I always keep saying that the private sector is the vehicle of growth. And it is the private sector who have to establish these industries,
Okay.
and so people can be employed. But the impression probably that the government gives to the people, and that is causing this big noise. Now, the government need to put systems in place to make things so easy for the investors so that they will come to Guyana and establish businesses so that people can find employment. So
let me bring in Dr. Bandhu, because Dr. Bandhu, we touched a little last time on the fact that you have traveled extensively and continue to travel extensively. And one of the things that you were hearing from your investors, and the reason I asked about your entrepreneurial prowess is because I wanted to show that you are at the cutting edge of business business entrepreneurial ideas. Okay, some of the things that you're hearing from your business partners overseas have to do with their reluctance to come to Guyana, particularly because of crime and the energy costs. Talk a little about crime first, Mr. Bandhu.
Any business, true businessman or big businessman, they would not go into a country if that country is not safe politically. They look at the political aspect in a country before a businessman will go and invest. Two, a businessman will never come into our country if they doesn't get certain facilities. You have to offer somebody something. They will not leave their country and come and invest in your country and the gain will be lower. They will always expect the gain to be higher.
But talk about right. the crime situation. What you said that you were hearing from businesses that they're very concerned about the crime situation in Guyana.
Everyone are concerned, not only business, but everyone, even the tourists are concerned about crimes in Guyana. They are so much afraid of coming to Guyana because their life is at stake. What would they come here? As I said last week in the, on the program, that they are businessmen. They were my brother-in-law who came here, and the businessman who we are staying with, lend him a vehicle and keep on calling from 5:30 all the time for him to go back home because he's scared to open his door after 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's a fear in everyone about Guyana situation where crime concerned. I know the government, I heard on the news not very long ago, but they're saying that crime and things like that reduced, but that's not so. You know, the government wants to tell people that is so, but it is not so. We are seeing crime every day, every day. We are seeing the amount of crime in Guyana. It's unbelievable that what we are having, right? So businessmen would not come to Guyana under this regime, as I said, also under the past regime.
All right. Let me bring back Mr. Halls in the conversation. Mr. Halls, let's run back to Linden a little. You said that you've noticed that there is some squabbling between the RDCs there in Linden and the local government situation. What really is happening that is causing the Lindeners not to experience the change that they voted for, both at the national level and at the local level?
Okay. What is taking place at the RDC and the MNTC is a personality struggle and power struggle. At the Mayor and Town Council, there is no other political party that have representative at the council. But then, at the Mayor and Town Council, they have opposition against themselves. You understand?
The PUP have some seats in there.
No. The PNC have
all the seats. So who's fighting against who then?
The PNC councillors fighting against the PNC councillors. And so the wrangling continue. The garbage is not being picked up. And these SIP workers, when they dig the sand and garbage from the drain, they would put it at the side of the road. And it would remain there for months. And so after a while, it would wash back in the drain. And as a friend told me, that is called recycling. So the workers will always have a job. You understand? So the squabbling continue. The vehicles at the main town council continue to destroy. I believe only 1 or 2 tractors they have working now. All the vehicles that the former councillors purchased is being damaged because of the bad management at present at the mayor and town council. We purchased 9 vehicles during our time at the MNTC. And today, according to my information, only 2 tractors working because the garbage isn't being picked up.
All right. How do you envision, Mr. Halls? How do you envision the URP being able to assist in a meaningful way the people in Linden? Given the history you have of Linden, the demographic of Linden, how do you see the URP assisting given our agenda and our plans?
Okay. Well, as Mr. Bandhu know, I had a program by the name Under the Microscope. And persons used to come to me, and I used to assist them in whatever way, and depends on the problems they have. If the problem is a Georgetown problem, sometimes I will bring them directly to Georgetown to meet with the relevant authority. Now that we're having this program, I will continue to do the same thing. If I cannot get the problem solved at Linden, well then I will bring the persons down to Georgetown and speak to the relevant authorities here in Georgetown.
So you're seeing your role as a hands-on role, really dealing with the needs and necessities of the people.
Yes.
Mr. Bandhu, we having a cook-up tonight, so let me jump back with you here. You are concerned, and as we spoke about this ensuing problem with the commissioner, with the election commission chairperson, and you're hearing talks, particularly from the opposition at the time, the PPP, about this rigging. Now again, the take that the position that I have is that there would be no talk of rigging if the PPP had made substantial amendments to the Constitution. So the Constitution is now coming back to bite them, because the purveyors of the Constitution right now were the ones who were the designers of the Constitution. So they are finding all the loopholes to stay in power. But you're concerned that this impasse, as it pertains to the selection of the chairman of the commission, it might not augur well for democracy. Talk a little to that.
Well, as you outlined in the beginning about the commission and the opposition submitted names, the 6 names,
Yes.
and it was refused by the president, and they have a next choice of submitting 6 more names. I know it will refuse again.
You believe the president will refuse it again?
Definitely, right? He will refuse that again, so that he will play according to his constitution. So he will have the chance in selecting who he wants or who his party wants.
But isn't that allowed by the Constitution?
Yes.
So then he would not be doing anything that is illegal or amiss?
No, he will not be doing, but he's playing under the Constitution.
Correct.
Because the Constitution protects him in that way.
Yes.
Right? Now, the past president, the PPPC president in the past, they know all the problem, what will occur, but they feel that they will be there forever. So they didn't want to change anything.
Because that's how the Constitution is designed.
Yeah.
Like I said, the guys who came up with this Constitution did it so that they would never come out of power. And so whoever gets into power wants to keep the Constitution as is. And that is why I am saying you have to allow a third party to get some seats in Parliament so that a motion could be tabled for the amendment of the Constitution, and there can be substantial constitutional reform.
You're correct.
Because Guyana continues to suffer. We have been, for 50 years, we've been dealing with this Constitution. And as big as we are, with all the wealth we have, we're still the most backward country in the entire region. We have got to address this. Yes,
the thing is that both of the past government and the previous government, before the election, before 92 election, Chedi start talk about changing the Constitution. But when they get into power, it was a different song.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The same time, the same thing with this administration. They've been talking heavily about the Constitution. Now you wouldn't hear a word about Constitution. Guyana need a voting system, an electronic voting system. So this rigging would not take place in Guyana. The PPP had an opportunity to change the system. And I will blame the PPP for everything that's happening in Guyana.
Why would you say that?
Because they have that opportunity to change the system, to change the Constitution. They was there 23 years to change that Constitution. But no, they feel that they will be there forever, so it suited them. The dictatorship Constitution suited them. And the same thing happening here. This government here are playing on the same Constitution because they have made this Constitution in the past.
Okay.
These same people that's sitting there are a part of help making that Constitution. Right. So they will not change it. You know, they will not. They will enjoy the benefit of the dictatorial attitude of them.
And what is so? And I'm saying I'm appealing because we know we have diehard PNC, and we have diehard PPP. But the URP is appealing to those who have some patriotic, who have a little patriotic residue. People who understand that if we continue to do this, we will continue to get the same results. If you leave these two major parties in power, Guyana will never experience substantial change. And it's not that you don't like somebody. I mean, when you meet the politicians personally, they are nice people. Mr. Granger, the nice guy, you know, Mr. Ramatar, they're good, decent men. It's just that when it comes to the politics in Guyana, the winner-take-all system is not working in the best interest of the Guyanese populace. Okay? And we have to find a way to change that. We have to find a way to create a balance of power in the parliament. And what I'm saying, what the URP is saying, is that just like how the AFC triggered a no confidence motion against the PPP, the URP is asking for your vote so that when we get to parliament, if any one of the major party continues to run the government amok, we will trigger a no confidence motion, and we will continue to trigger no confidence motions until you put in power a government that acts on behalf of all Guyanese. All Guyanese. Now, Dr. Bandhu, you talk, and I like when you talk about the fact that the URP wants to really deal with the racial disparity in the country. You are Indian by nationality. However, you have sought and you have made decisive overtures to really go against the tide of even some of your close friends and stuff of this racial disparity and the racism that obtains in Guyana. Talk a little about your desire to do away with that.
Well, I always believe, Pastor, that inequality. I always believe that every human being should be treated equally. This country here, I don't see the need for racism. Because we all are Guyanese. We all took birthright here. As I said last week, you know, on the program, that, you know, no matter what you say, you are not accepted as an African in Africa because you didn't born here. I am not accepted as an Indian in India because I didn't born here. It's a simple thing. Why in God's name that we all travel together in the same boat, in the same bus, in the same car, shopping at the same shop, and all these things. And look, right now, I just came from Linden yesterday. You know, everybody lives so beautifully at this time.
Until election
But
time.
when the time for election, a couple months before, these two major political parties start to do their tricks
on race.
on race.
And deal with race. And that is
And it's not working out. Look, yesterday I addressed a lot of young people in Linden. And they're all against when we talk about racial thing that's happening in Guyana. They all are totally against it. They don't want to hear about race. They do not want to hear. And you talk about the Constitution. I had discussion with quite a few people. First thing they said, the whole Guyana Constitution, and those are the PNC people.
Okay.
The whole Guyana Constitution should be scrapped and thrown